Hey everyone, this is Saul from Three Kingdoms Games, and I'm psyched today to talk to you about this game because I get to talk to you about one of my favorite superheroes and a board game at the same time. We're talking about Batman the Animated Series, Gotham Under Siege by IDW. This is a 1 to 5 player co-op game where you and your teammates will take on the roles of iconic Batman the Animated Series characters trying to save civilians and keep the city from blowing up. If either of those things happen too much, because a certain amount's okay, remember, animated series after all, you lose the game. If any of your teammates die, you lose the game. But if you can survive the 4 villainous acts, you win. Let's get this on the table and show you how it plays. Alright, so for Batman the Animated Series, Gotham Under Siege, the setup is pretty straightforward. First thing you do, there's 9 of these city tiles. You shuffle them up, and you deal them out in this 3x3 grid. You then put a building on each one. These buildings are awesome. Remind me of the animated series art. Also for storage, they're designed to stack inside of each other so they don't take up that much space in the box, so you don't have to break them down every time. You get the Gotham City track. This will determine the north, south, east, and west based off that compass rose. The citizens marker starts on 8. The explosion starts on 6. And the bat signal starts on 2. So if the citizen or the explosion marker ever hits 0, you lose. The bat signal is when you roll, you get to adjust your rolls based off of a degree of how many times you move the bat signal. So +1, -1 for each degree you move it. You then get to choose your character. There are 5 characters to pick in this game. So, good choice. I love that they actually made Commissioner Gordon a character in this game because most of the Batman animated series stuff ignores Commissioner Gordon for whatever reason. They seem to focus more on like Batman, Robin, Catwoman, and Batgirl. So, you get your board, which has your different abilities, which dice you have to assign to them to get those abilities. A special power that only that character will have. And as well as a limited skill that only that character will have. You'll get 2 tokens to use that limited skill. Each use removes one of the tokens. You only get 2 through all 4 acts. So you have to be very careful about when you use those. So you get your board, the 2 skill tokens, like I said. Give Gordon the same thing. So I've set this up as a 2-player game. You get the corresponding dice. Each character gets 4. There's also, through actions in the game, bonus dice that you can get. You get your skill cards, which I'll explain in a second what you do with those. And you get a corresponding figure for each character. So there are 5 figures. At this point, you will take the act cards. So for Act 1, there's 3. For Act 2, there's 3. Same thing for 3 and 4. Shuffle them up. Deal one off. And now you look at the columns for the information for what else you're going to need to set up on the board. So number of heroes we're using is 2. We're using Batman and Gordon right now. Number of story cards you're going to draw is 3. So you go to the Act 1 story deck, shuffle it up, take 3 off the top, and put them out and do anything that it says it requires to immediately happen. You then have Masterminds. Again, Mastermind deck, you shuffle it, you draw off 2 Masterminds in this case. Now, part of the reason that compass rose was important is Masterminds have a specific. For instance, Red Claw goes in the east. and Clayface goes in the west. Now for Mastermind Anatomy, you have for Clayface, which I love the art, they picked one of the original Clayfaces. You have the name of the character, the amount of strength it has, so when you're doing damage to it, that is how much strength it's going to require to defeat it, and the number of villains it comes in with. So in this case, it's 7. So you place them on their appropriate side, and then for the number of villains it says it gets, you go into the Gotham City bag, and you draw out that many villains and stack them so that they're with the corresponding ones, just to keep it neat. I already went in there and dealt them out just to save on time and setup. Villains have 3 levels to them. Level 1 is the thug, normal street level thug. Number 2 is the henchman. And number 3 is the ninja. So yes, henchmen, if you train hard, you become a ninja. It's the animated series. It makes sense. And then villain track is the last column on the act card. So you draw that many villains from the bag, so 4 in this case, and you deal them around starting from one edge and just working their way around. They're just random villains to add to the encounter. At this point, the heroes get to shuffle up their skills, draw 2, look at them, decide which one they want to keep, because it's just going to be an extra ability you're going to have for this round, because at the end of the round it gets discarded. The other skill goes back on top of your deck, because again, you shuffle them up, and you do this process at the start of every act. So we're just going to top draw it for Gordon. You then also take your figure and decide what battlefield you want it to go on. So again, north, east, south, west. If there's something that says something happens on the south, east, south, west, same difference. So you choose what battlefield you start on. For turn order, first it goes to the hero's phase. So all heroes roll their dice, take one, and assign it to any spot that can assign a die. Now, whoever is act leader will go first. This moves every act. As well as there's sometimes certain story events that only the act leader can complete. And if something says it requires a hero die, it is one of the colored dice. The white dice are only bonus dice. So you go, you assign it. Let's say I want to assign it there. Whatever. It doesn't really matter where you assign it as long as you do whatever the action says. If something says it deals damage, so let's say I used Batman's first ability here. It's 1 plus 7. It's that much damage is dealt. So he then would deal 7 points of damage to the side that he's on. And you can decide to do it as, 3 for the ninja, then 2, get rid of the 6 there, or however many thugs. It's 1-to-1 for the number of points to the amount of damage you're dealing. So 1 point per thug that you're trying to take out, 2 points per henchman, 3 points per ninja, and then you can also take out the masterminds. So play continues like that until all dice have been assigned. Once all dice have been assigned, you go into the Casualty Phase, City Crisis Phase, which is where, as a hero, you can make a defense roll. If you make a heroic defense roll, you roll a die. On a 1, which just happened, you get wounded. Wounded is the backside of your card. I also failed to mention, there's an ability at the bottom of every card that you can assign as many dice to as you want. There's no limit to that action that you can take. But if you're wounded, if you get wounded again, you're knocked out. That's the 3rd way you can lose this game. Only way to win is survive all the acts. But let's just say, for argument's sake, I flip the dice. If something ever says to flip a die in the game, you flip the die. Literally, so 1 becomes 6, and you deal 6 points of damage to villains. So let's just say I did a good job on this side. That all got eliminated. Whatever happened over there. You then get to the city destruction phase. City destruction roll. Roll a die. If it comes up odd, like this one did, you choose one of the buildings on your side, and it blows up. So, you flip it over, and you do whatever it says. So in this case, you get to choose between casualty or explosion. That's how this track gets affected. Or some story effects will say, if not defeated by the end of the act, take a casualty, blow up a building, whatever. If you defeat a story act, it's turned sideways. The other thing is, for combat purposes, if you had an ability that let you get onto the rooftops, you can then attack anywhere. You're considered to be adjacent to every side. So, that was the playthrough. Now, I left out a couple rules. I might have done that intentionally. Either way, you get to see more of my pretty face. So, for the roll that you're making at the end there that I talked about, the city destruction roll, you make that per stack of villains that's left. So it's important to keep the villains in check. Also, after that phase, to set up Acts 3, 4, it's the same thing like we did for Act 1. You just remove all the Act 1 cards that weren't used or were used or whatever, break out Act 2, shuffle it up, flip it over, resolve it again in order based off the number of heroes you have, set up the masterminds, the villains, all that city stuff, and that continues as usual. Now, for that hero defense roll I talked about, in Act 4, it's important that you take that pretty seriously, because Act 4, the villains deal 2 wounds, which means knockout. So, there you have it. That's the stuff I missed in the explanation, but that was Batman the Animated Series, Gotham Under Siege by IDW. If you like what you saw in this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and follow us on all major social media platforms. That's all in the description box down below. I'll see you next time.